Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, viewers, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, doctor. And thank you for having us at your beautiful house. Um, this is Think Mina Media, and it is Religious Hard Talk with Bazaam. And now, religion nowadays is being misunderstood by so many people, and it is necessary for the layman to understand what religion is all about, especially when it comes to the differences of opinions, especially the differences of the schools of thought that many people would like to call it the madhab, and following opinions of certain scholars. It has become the norm of the society. Like if you are a Muslim, there must be somebody that you follow. If you're a Muslim, there must be an opinion that you have to be adherent to. So our discussion today, there are people who would attack the idea that you should not even have a madhab, and there are people who are with the idea that madhab is a necessity, like one must be adherent to one type of madhab. So we would want to know what exactly is madhab. Lutah nit mo wara topa like madhab.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Let me first thank you, crew, for the invitation. I think this is not the first time I watch some of your interactions, which is really impressive. And I think that was the reason, in addition to hard talk and religion, that I accept your invitation. We ask for Allah's guidance. I think the idea of Islam being misconceived is very, very, very true. I think it's one of the most misconceived religion. The reason being that if you look at the productions, book productions, to mislead people, I think Islam get a very big share, lion's share of that misinformation age. That is why maybe in general there is misconceptions surrounding this religion. You mentioned about madhab as well as the two schools or two understandings of people, that some support madhab and some do not support it. And I think each one of them is correct in a way, but not incorrect in a way. Of course, madhab is known as a school of thought. And here is very important to draw the attention of our viewers of the difference between madhab and sect and the Sufi order, because sometimes people use them interchangeably, and that also added to the confusion.
Yeah, that's right. That's the okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
A madhab is a school of thought that addresses the schools of jurisprudence. When jurists disagree and they have different opinions, this can be described as different madhabs in the discipline of jurisprudence. And when people disagree on sect, on theology, they call them sectarian. And in the sect also you have many sects, but these are disagreement over theology. The other one is the Sufi order. You have these Sufi orders, the Tijaniya, Muridiya, and all that. These are Sufi orders, meaning disagreement on mysticism. So disagreement on mysticism can lead into orders, different orders, diverse orders. Disagreement on theology has led into different sects. Disagreement on jurisprudence has led into madhahib. So this is what we call madhahib, meaning the understanding of a jurist regarding an issue of jurisprudence, like the Malikiya, Safi'iyya, and all that. Okay. Now, the issue of we should have madhab less Islam. I belong to that category.
Wow.
But not necessarily the way that many people interpret it. I also belong to those who believe that madhab is a natural emergency in Islam, because the idea of madhab, having this different madhab, is a natural flaw of Islamic jurisprudence, meaning we cannot go without it. Why? Because that you have the sources of Islam, which is the Quran and Sunnah. They have the ingredients of disagreement from the beginning, from the start. The only problem is that when people who belong to different madhab, they became fanatic. The real problem is fanaticism or fanatic or intolerance in your own understanding that my madhab is the one that is true, that is the only true and nothing but true. This is the real problem.
So meaning to be an extremist in the following of madhab, that makes it a problem.
Yeah, that makes a problem.
Okay.
To go to the extreme of saying, okay, mine is the only truth. Kon su ñuy wax ci affaire yi madhab li nga wax laaj bi am solo nga laaj ci wàll ne l'islam dina la buñ réere mbir lu tax ñu réere ko mbir ndax boo ko seetloo diine dëgg la gannaaw dëgg la nag ñi koy attaque dañuy bari liy génn ci ay téere pour réeral nit ñi dafa bari bu ko defee loolu dana tax ñu réere ko bu baax ñaareel ba dafa nekk diine joo xamante ne dafa jële ci téere boo xamante ne boo ko jàngut bu baax ñu bari nag dañuy dugg ci te ñuy jàng téere boobu.
So nit ñu bari dañoo wax ne suñ jàngee Quran, like this generation, you have translations of the Quran in English. So you have in-depth knowledge in English, and now you just want to read the Quran for yourself, the translation for yourself. Nga jàng yeneen hadith yi. Nga ne léegi, whatever the case is, I don't need to learn about the madhab, so man mun naa am suma diine, mun naa understand suma diine the way I want it.
Thank you very much. Scholars have discussed that. Normally, when you are a mujtahid, when you reach that depth in knowledge to the extent that you are called a mujtahid, meaning you can deduce rulings from the sources by yourself. You don't need madhab.
Okay.
But when you are like Dr. Jah, you are an imitator. Of course, it's very difficult to understand Quran. Not everybody can understand Quran. So you need to be an expert in the Quran itself and in the other sources that will interpret the Quran for you. So when you are an imitator, what they are suggesting is for you to really hold on to a madhab, because you have to contact Ahlul Dhikri. That's the problem, because as an imitator, you don't have the capacity to go into the sources and deduce the rulings from the sources. So you have a neighbor who is a scholar, and we are asked to fasalu Ahlul Dhikri. So when you are now an imitator, definitely you have to ask those who know, and then you follow what they tell you. Not necessarily that it is obligatory, but it is a way of, what is obligatory is to act based on knowledge. What is obligatory is to act based on knowledge. Okay, if I don't know, then I come to you who know. And then when I ask you, you may interpret based on a madhab, and then I find it very convenient to follow your madhab. But it's not obligatory on me to do that. For example, I can ask also another gentleman from a different madhab, but then he is also telling me, guiding me based on what his understanding of the other madhab.
Will that not be the cases of most of our scholars, I may say, like, who have gone to Saudi, and Saudi, I think, is a Hanbali madhab. So, but after coming to the Gambia, when learning the Hanbali madhab or whatever education they attain from there, they would come to the Gambia, which our elders, were in the Maliki madhab. They would be learning like Samaridani and all the Maliki books. And when they come here, it's like, people are seeing differences in what they interpret some of the things. So is it that the differences, they having with the Hanbali scholarship in Saudi, and now coming to the Gambia, seeing people following the Maliki scholarship, now some other people are seeing it as differences.
Yeah, I think, look, that has to do if there are problems, the problem has to be built on for two reasons. Reason one has to do with fanaticism. Maybe reason two has to do with a lack of craftiness of domesticating what you have learned. You know, not everybody can domesticate what they learn, and that sometimes does not only necessarily apply to the Arabic learners. You come to the English learners, some of them they go to Russia, they've learned from communism, then they came back and they want to apply the communist rules
system
in this country, and the communist system in this country. So you go to Saudi Arabia, you go to Pakistan, you go to Egypt, every university has a philosophy. And those that join a particular university are cooked based on that philosophy. Not necessarily that philosophy is applicable to Africa. But then when you come from Egypt, when you come from Saudi Arabia, you have to understand that there is a Gambian Islam also. There's an African Islam. Because cultures and customs are part of Islam too. Right. So the problem you have when you come from outside, cooked in a philosophy that is for that particular society, you come back, if you free yourself from fanaticism and also develop that capacity to domesticate what you have learned from the foreign land, then you will have no problem. Right. Imam Shafi'i, who is one of the scholars, one of the founders of the four schools of thought, Imam Shafi'i has two risala, two epistles, one in Iraq and one in Egypt. Because when he writes risala in Iraq, in first risala is different from the second risala, right? Because the second risala reflected the new culture that he has joined. So that is the flexible aspect of Islam, which many of our scholars they don't have the capacity to either domesticate or they become fanatic of where they come from.
So isn't it important for one to have like one particular scholar? For instance, myself, I'll be like, okay, well, doctor is my stars. Like anything I have, you know, with regards to my religion, you know, doctor will be the person I'll call. I'll ask about some jurisprudence. Doctor, what should I do this? Is that important in one's life? Like, you know, for you to take one particular sheikh or one particular scholar, someone, you know, who is your teacher, your ustaz, and be asking that particular person. And whatever that person says, you will not even need to verify from other sources, but you'll just have to follow the person.
Yeah, that can be, but it's conditional to the fact that that particular scholar that you are talking about must be flexible within the domain of many scholars. For example, I used to tell the Gambians is that there are contentious issues that we who are called scholars should come around the table and discuss. Otherwise, if I, as Dr. J, I am your source, and I'm suffering from fanaticism, and I'm suffering from lack of ability to domesticate, you will also be misguided. Why? Because when I give you an answer, and I am not academically honest, I hide other possibilities. Then you take that as the Quran. And here, another problem we have is that sometimes people don't differentiate between the verse you learn and your interpretation of the verse. There are people who think that their interpretation of the verse becomes a verse.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is very dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
The verse you learn from the Quran is the verse. The authentic hadith you take from the Prophet is a hadith. My interpretation of the hadith, my interpretation of the verse is not the verse.
It's not the verse and it's not the hadith.
So now when I disagree with you, oh, this guy, kafir now. Why? Because he is against the Quran. No, he's not against the Quran. He's against your understanding. Yes, your opinion of that verse. So if that particular scholar like Dr. G you are referring to is not open-minded, he won't be academically honest. He will just take one particular view in a mist of diversity of views, telling you this and that, and then you take, and then the next day you hear another one from another radio. So,
this guy is misguided.
Why did he die? Yes, that guy is misguided. Why? Because your scholar is the one misguiding you. Your scholar should say, this particular question that you are asking me, there are differences of opinions. For me, this is my opinion. Then it will really save a lot of contentions that we are having, even reaching at the level of sociology.
And this thing is actually affecting many new Muslims, like the reverts, the converts that are coming into Islam. Like after learning Islam through books, like you'll give somebody the Quran to read the Quran himself, and the person will read the Quran. I know the Quran may affect the person theologically, like, many from the background of other religions like Christianity, and this person will understand that the religion of Quran, or the way Allah is described in the Quran, this is what he has been searching, and now he found the truth and becomes a Muslim. So the next thing, this person will be overwhelmed with the differences of opinions pertaining to the verses in the Quran. And so one scholar will say this, another scholar will say this, and at the end of the day, this guy will be like, no, what I learned from the Quran, what motivated me to become a Muslim was the text of the Quran. And I understand the Quran my way. And then I believe that, actually the description of Allah and the description of Islam is what I love, what I like, and that has motivated me to becoming a Muslim. So what these other scholars are saying about it, one saying this and another saying this, is confusing me. At the end of the day, let me even leave Islam. So what do you think
my take
on that?
First of all, understanding Quran or claiming to understand Quran is not an easy enterprise. You see, because the Quran explains itself. There are verses that are abrogated. There are verses that are, so that's why here comes also the difference between a mujtahid who has been grounded in knowledge to be able to deduce, and somebody like myself who is an imitator. Of course, the issue of taking excuse of differences to relinquish is also not a good one. I always tell the people, sometimes people say, oh, look, hadith is a problem, hadith is a problem, hadith is problematic.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are a lot of things in hadith. Why don't we leave hadith? The Quraniyun, there are people, these are the group of Quraniyun, they say that. They say, okay, why don't we just hold onto the Quran and we leave hadith? Because hadith is so difficult and is so problematic. You don't need thousands of hadiths to organize your life. Take one hadith or two and organize your life. There are some scholars who organize their life in one hadith. ومن حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعني. There is a scholar who said he organized his own entire life in that hadith. ومن حسن إسلام المرء تركه. So it's not necessarily that you have to take thousands of hadiths to organize your life. But the understanding that hadith is an authentic source, and the understanding that, okay, this particular one is an authentic hadith, let me organize my life on it, will also solve the problem. Not necessarily that the confusion of the scholars, you have to put yourself into that to the extent that, okay, I think since I'm confused, let me leave. Okay, if that happened to you, stick to your scholar. If that happened to you, stick to that scholar that is considered to be a source. You forget other points of view, because every point of view is also something as a roadmap for you to organize your life on. So there's not a problem with that.
Well, you've come to hadith point. We've seen other sects. You have the madhabs, and then you have the new madhab also invented, like Salafism. Is actually like a madhab that is I can't say self-proclaimed madhab, but is an invented one. Like, people understand nowadays that if you are not a follower of madhab, then you must be a Salafi. You must be somebody who is like adherent to just the ruling of Quran and Sunnah according to the understanding of the Salaf. This is how they coin it. So these people even when you want to quote a hadith, you have series of hadith that are da'if and series of hadith that are sahih. So, and once the hadith is da'if, they cast it all away. And once the hadith is sahih, sometimes, even that sahih hadith, when you want to quote it to them, like, you want to quote sahih that says, the best amongst you is the one who learns the Quran and teaches it. They will have to tell you, like, who narrates the hadith. If you don't say it's Uthman bin Affan, then, it's like, your words are useless to them. So, and are they considered madhab?
Look, what happened to the Salafis, the same thing happened to the madhab. Sometimes when you run away from madhab, sometimes you create a new madhab.
That's right.
This is many people fall into the trap of, okay, let us become madhabless, but we are madhabless, and then you become your madhab.
There's a group you created.
You understand what I mean? So I think what happened to the Salafis, to the Ikhwanis, to all those people is that, it happened even from the beginning of Islam with the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila, they were running from they were really running from shirk. That's why they deny the attributes of God. The denial of the attributes of God from the Mu'tazila turned them into a new madhab. Sometimes running from shirk or running from whatever it is should be well thought out. So the Salafi is not a madhab. According to Imam Buti, he said, "As-Salafiyya laysa madhaban wa innama huwa madin muhtaram." Is a past, is a respected past, but it's not a madhab. Why? Because madhab has their principles. When you come to Maliki, you come to Shafi'i, you come to all these people, they have their principles. And let me tell you that the founders of madhab also did not go to the market and say, "Hey, guys, come, this is my madhab." No. That's right. They were just scholars, pious people who are grounded in the book, like Malik, like all of them, grounded in the book, and then they go to the mosque, they do their things, but with the ingredients of differences, and then people follow them. And then those followers, they are the ones who created now that madhab. The Salafi, they also said, look, let us just become madhabless, and we go back to Salaf. Okay, that's very good. But the problem they have there is, when you ask them who of the Salaf, who? Because the Salaf also had differences.
Yeah, differences.
We have, for example, the Sahabas, they had differences. So who of them you follow? Then the issue of Salaf means manhaj Salaf, meaning the roadmap of Salaf. And that is difficult to detect. Very difficult, until and unless you become a grounded scholar. Because when you say, okay, I am with Salaf, okay, Umar ibn Khattab had a different with radiallahu anhu, had a different with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And even in Medina, there were this Ibn Mas'ud, Madhab Ibn Mas'ud, Madhabu Ibn Abbas and all that. So they had differences among themselves. That's why I always tell my Salafist brothers that I think you have to do more homework, because you have to detect what was the manhaj of Salaf. And one of the manhaj of Salaf was to respect whom you disagree with. Opinions. But you are not doing it. You understand that?
It's one of their rules.
Yeah. So one of the doctrine of Salaf is Ra'yi Sawa. My opinion is correct.
No other.
But is no. My opinion is correct, but probably wrong.
It's correct, but probably wrong.
The opinion of my rival is wrong, but probably correct. That was the doctrine that they have adopted. My opinion is correct according to my understanding, but it's probably wrong. That probability will allow you to be humble. Flexible. And the opinion of my brother is wrong with my understanding, but it's probably correct. That probability will make me humble to accept you. But that was the Salaf. But now those who are calling themselves Salafis, some of them, they are not like that. No. So then the issue of what is Salafiyya itself. So I believe that it's not a madhab, but it's a very respected path.
Respected, wonderful. So the madhab, like Maliki, Like in this region, I believe, Gambia, Senegal, and up to Morocco, most of the people are following like the Maliki madhab since our grandfathers to fathers to ourselves. And are there particular scholars who are living, in the Maliki madhab? Like, for instance, like we say, this is the Mufti General of the Malikis madhab in the region or in the country, that every other Maliki scholar, for instance, if new issues arise, like issues pertaining to politics or to our current affairs, like these are the kind of scholars, this is the big grand mufti that every other Maliki scholars will go to and ask for a verdict.
Now, that comes with a bigger question, because sociology of Islam, before the disintegration of the Ummah, they used to have one mufti. But then after this integration, when now the Ottoman Empire, the fall of Ottoman Empire in 1924, and the collapse of the Islamic State, now the whole Muslim geography, the whole caliphate has been chopped into pieces, as you know. Then now we have these countries, Gambia, Senegal. So normally it's difficult to talk about a particular mufti for the Islamic Ummah. Now what we have is what we call Fiqh Academy. So what the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, what do they have? They have what we call Fiqh Academy. I'm a member, I'm an expert of the Fiqh Academy, where they now bring a number of scholars from different parts of the Islamic world. These are considered to be the resort of Muslims now for the bigger issues, for the bigger issues of siyasa sharia. But when it comes now to the ibadat, every country has their own scholars. For example, here in the past you have Sayyid Ali Saho, who was a qadi. Nowadays you have many scholars that you can refer to. But then a particular mufti, for example, now in the Gambia, if you want to know, maybe you go to Super Islamic Council and ask them. So, but in the Super Islamic Council, they have fatwa council, they have fatwa committee. And this is what is also happening in many parts of the world. The fatwa committee in Gambia, the fatwa committee in Senegal, the fatwa committee. And then in a bigger picture as an umbrella, you have the Fiqh Academy that are now handling the issues of jurisprudence and the issues of theology representing the Islamic world. Do we consider them obligatory, their view obligatory? I do. For example, whenever I see that they have consensus over issues, I will take that over any other opinion that is in contradiction to their opinion. But now to have for example, when you have to Amman, you have the Mufti of Oman. You go to Mauritania, you have Mufti of Mauritania. So there are Muftis on different republics, but to have one Mufti for the whole Islamic world, we don't have it now. I think we just have Fiqh Academy as the masdar, as the resource. Yes.
That's wonderful. So a Mufti's word is a final thing in every country. Like if you ask a Mufti about a jurisprudence, and you wouldn't even have to question the Mufti, which source, which school of thought the Mufti is making the verdict on. You'll just have to accept the Mufti's word for it.
Yeah, there's a difference between fatwa and qada. Fatwa is binding on the one who asked the fatwa. It's not binding on the others. Even it is not very much binding on you also, but because when you, that's why I said, what is obligatory on a Muslim is to act based on knowledge. If you want to move a step, you have to move your step based on what you know. Okay, now when you ask this mufti and you are moving, he said, okay, that is the right thing. It becomes obligatory on you to do that. So you cannot do otherwise. Okay, but fatwa is different from qada in the sense of binding, the binding nature of it. So fatwa is more flexible, but definitely the one who ask a mufti to act because of he doesn't know. Once he is informed, then he act accordingly. The responsibility, if he is wrong, it is wrong. It's not on him. It's on the mufti who gave him the fatwa.
So that's why some people, they are more following the madhab or following in a mufti and saying, I do not even have to make any research on my own. I do not even have to go to any other person asking. Let me just, have Imam Malik, what Imam Malik says about a certain thing, what, the shuyukh of Malikiya say about a certain thing, and just follow that. So those people, they are not fanatic in a way?
No, I think that...
Or they're just trying to save themselves from being wrong?
Because sometimes it depends on your expertise. I can't be expert in everything. Because first, ask those who know. It is applicable to Islam, applicable to your driver, driving, to the mechanic, to the thing. Because sometimes it's difficult to be everywhere. For example, if you go and specialize in Islam, then it becomes your responsibility to go deep into even questioning the one that you ask. You understand? For example, I may ask, I'm still asking questions to some people about their opinion. But me being a little bit delving into what they know, sometimes I ask them and sometimes I question them. Because that is my life. It's different from that mechanic. His expertise is in the car making. So for him, he is just there to practice whatever. He want to marry, for example, and he want to know what Islam says about the dowry, what Islam says about this and that. It is not obligated to go deep into the nitty-gritties of that. He has to just go to a scholar that is his expertise to ask, okay, how do I do that? And he said, okay, you have to go and ask for the hand of the... Then he applies it. I don't think he's a fanatic or he is negligent, because you cannot be everywhere. You cannot be expert on all things. So, but then at least when you have to be serious of what you are doing. If you want to act based on knowledge, make sure now that you also seek those who know. And here I would like to draw the attention of many people that it is your responsibility to know who knows also. For example, people, when they go to the doctor, when they have their stomach problem or they have health problem, they don't go to police station. No. They go to the hospital. And when they go to the hospital also, they investigate the best doctor regarding that particular one. Do they just give themselves to that nurse to cut them? They don't. They go and investigate when it comes to their health. The same investigation that they should do in religion. Because the one you ask is the one that gives you your deen. And don't play with your deen the way that you should not play with your health. That's the way you should not play with your deen. That's why it is my responsibility to investigate who knows, for me to be able to ask him what I know. But any Tom, Dick, and Harry telling you anything, you will also be held accountable. But when you say it is Malik, everybody knows that Malik
was authentic.
Yes. This is something that we have also to understand.
Thank you, Doctor, for elaborating on those points. Very important points. And I want you to explain a little bit about the tariqas also. Like, is it obligatory on one to be in a tariqa? Oh, it's not.
No. Look, tariqas also emerged the way that schools of thought emerged. So I think I told you that the Quran and Sunnah, they are the sources. So Quran is the authentic, the first textual source. But Quran itself is impregnated with ingredients of different opinions. And the Prophet came and applied the two. Remember when he asked the companions not to pray until they reach Banu Qurayza. There's a hadith when he was going to deal with Banu Qurayza. He told them, La yusalliyanna ahadukum. None of you should pray until you reach Banu Qurayza. And then the companions, they were going on the way. But then Asr, meaning Salatul Asr, came before they reached. So they disagree. They have a different opinion. They said, oh, now do we pray? He said, no. The Prophet said, don't pray until you reach. No. He didn't mean that. He meant just he wanted us to be in a haste. It was in a haste. No. We have to take him literally. So some of them said no. Some of them prayed. Some of them they just went, and they missed the prayer. Anyway, when they came, they asked him. He said, "You both of you are correct." So the idea of the Quran having ingredients of different opinions there. The verse can be understood by me differently, depending on culture. So I think that's why schools of jurisprudence came. But when the Prophet was living, there was no Maliki, no Shafi'i. But then, are they also prohibited? No. Because it is natural, it has to come. As long as we respect the other and we are not fanatic, so it's okay. The schools, what we call the Tariqa Sufi orders, they represent some form of withdrawal. When many scholars started going into politics, and politics, the political power then was so brutal to some of the jurists. There was a rupture between governance and jurisprudence. Before Islam, governance and jurisprudence were intertwined.
That's right.
The Hakim, meaning the governor, was a jurist. And the jurist also was. But there was a time when during the Umayyad, there was a rupture between governance and jurisprudence. So many scholars now became so afraid of talking into politics. So now they go into their Zawiya, starting this life of asceticism. And then definitely in the beginning, the ingredients of mysticism, the ingredients of tariqah is there in the source. But then it was not, it didn't emerge until conditions pushed, necessitated it to emerge. That's just like the schools of thought. So this is why. But you tariqah, no, you are not obligated to belong to any tariqah. I don't belong to any tariqah. I don't belong to any tariqah. So, but is it prohibited to belong to a tariqah? No. As long as the Sufi order, also follow the Quran and the Sunnah. This is what they did. So I think what happened to schools of thought applies also to them. You will also see fanatics, a lot of fanatics
within them.
In the tariqah. A lot of fanatics. Our sheikh is the only sheikh, you understand? He's the only one that takes us to Al-Jannah, which are all wrong. There are many wrong things, but in the beginning, the intention was very pure, and I think they also created a lot of good things in this part of the world. Islam entered this world through the tariqahs, through the Sufism. So they were the ones that came and cleared the whole thing and then built the mosques and all that. But now, of course, in every development, you will see problems creeping into the pure source of whatever it is. Even schools of thought. There was a time, if you read Ibn Kathir and Ibn Athir, there was a time that Shafi'i and Hanbali, they fought, they even shed blood in about 400 years ago, 500 years ago. Between the same schools, the same Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Al-Hanbali and Shafi'i, they fight in Iraq, they fight here and there because of fanatism. And they're all from the same Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So fanaticism and ignorance are the root cause of many of these problems.
So one would be advised, not to just go deep into the strict following of a madhab or strict following of a tariqah, and you just be flexible.
Yes. For me, I think, as I said, I'm a Muslim, and that's my focus. So, what I want to be, the values that I'm fighting every day to become, is to be a Muslim. To be a Muslim. Why? Because the outside enemy is fighting all of us as Muslims. The one who is fighting this sect is fighting that sect. The one who is fighting this Sufi order is fighting that Sufi order. Now, what is happening in Palestine and all that? It is against Islam, not against a particular sect. So if you don't unite, come together for Islam and to be Muslim, as long as you are a Muslim, I respect you. And I take you as my brother. Okay?
Sure.
So you respect also others, like Christians that lives with you, because this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. In Medina, he created the first constitution that declared Christians and Jews as Ummah with Muslims. As long as they are not fighting you for your religion, you live on the same planet. You have to respect Christians, you respect Jews, you respect everyone, because this planet is created by God and all of us belong to the planet. So a real Muslim focus on his inner problems rather than now looking outside. You know, our problem is that we will be longing to see others' problems. We will long to see you are not perfect. But if you internalize your problem, you don't have time.
You don't.
To look beyond. And I think this is my advice, to be a Muslim. Period.
So I am this, I am that, just be a Muslim.
Yes.
So, and thank you so much, Doctor. This brings us, you have any final word, any advice for
just to
the
thank
Ummah?
you, and you are young, you are the young generation like yourself. We learn from you because the paradigm shift, and this is very important what you are doing to meet those that you think know, because every generation there's a paradigm shift, and Islam is a religion that is very elastic, and there is elasticity to accommodate the new ideas. That is why what you are doing is very important, especially using the media, because the media is the fifth or the fourth. They used to have that the government have about three powers: executive, judiciary, and the legislative. Now the media is the fourth power.
The fourth one.
So I think if you know how to use the media, you can create a very informed society, because the society is living is a disinformed society. Disinformed, misinformed society can only be corrected by using the tool of media to re-inform them. And I think this is what you are doing, and I thank you very much for having me.
Inshallah. And Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much, Doctor. And this brought us to the end of the program, Religious Hard Talk. The commentators out there in the comment sector, you can ask all the questions that you would want your next guest to be answering. And, we will try and read all the comments and put the questions out there to our next guest. And possibly, we may even have Doctor again for another topic, inshallah. And thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.